Greetings, magical souls. I have come on here today just to share a little bit about the current energies that we're experiencing from a slightly different perspective, from my own perspective. So, as most of you know, I've been through a lot this year, and I felt like I had this real soul intervention or death and rebirth, whatever you want to call it, in September of this year. And what it really did was it just stripped away everything that I was not. And what's really been fascinating for me is that although I've always been interested in my astrology, I've never really paid too much attention to it. And about 2 years ago, I did my free profile of my gene keys and my human design chart. And then towards the end of last year, things started to really niggle me from that perspective. And it was like, I really need to start looking into this. And then about 3 years ago, I did my Antares code as well. Now, what's fascinating for me is that ever since I came into this life, I have felt like I just could not get comfortable here. I don't know how else to explain it, but when I was little, people would tell me I had an overactive imagination. When I would question the way the world was, they'd say to me, well, it's just the way it is, you've got to accept it. And I would go, no, I can see something different here, but I don't know where it is. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know where it is. I don't know how everybody else is just putting up with this. But there was something that I could really like, something that I could always feel. And it's interesting because in the last sort of 2 years that I've been going through all the changes that I've been through, I started to remember things back from my childhood that I would say. When I was very little, I used to say that I wasn't from here, that I was hatched from a chicken egg that rolled off Mars and cracked on Earth, and my parents adopted me and they're just looking after me while I'm here, but I'm not from here. And often when we're children, before we get programmed, those things are really, really real, but we describe them in a language that, our sort of childhood self can understand. The end of last year, I had my soul plan done, which I've shared the video on that, and that was really profound, particularly because of the birth name and my married name. Earlier this year, I started to really dive into my gene keys and my human design. And what I've realized is that I have this gene key number 55 is in my genius profile, which is really just, it's the main sun and earth gates that are in your human design chart, or those gene keys that sort of make up like 70% of you. And number 55 is really this moving from victimhood into freedom. And everything that was described in my soul plan, now in my human design, now in the gene keys, is making me understand that I've always had this thing where I've been able to see a world that other people could not see. And I don't mean that I could see through it, but I mean it's almost like I was holding a vision or holding a blueprint of something. And that's why I'm starting to understand why this world has always felt off to me. Like, where was the magic? Where was this thing that I could feel within every fiber of my being, but where was it? And so I'm starting to understand now that that's really what I'm here to do. I'm here to bring that in. And it wasn't 10 years ago, and there's been so much stuff that I've unwrapped and unraveled that has just been like little lights along the way, like lighting up and going, oh my goodness. And it's really been such an interesting journey, and I honestly believe that the timing of everything was absolutely spot on as well. Now, I heard Richard Rudd talking the other day about 2026 and 2027 being what he calls the Dragonfly years. And this gene key 55 is all around this analogy of the dragonfly. So the dragonfly is this nymph type creature that basically breathes through its anus and walks around under the water for most of its life, a couple of years, being this real quite simple creature. And all of a sudden one day it climbs out of the water and it climbs up a stem when some kind of hidden gene is activated. And out like a telescope folds this long body and these beautiful wings, and it becomes this really advanced insect. It is a phenomenal hunter. It can fly like no other insect can fly. It can hover, it can go forwards, backwards, sideways, upwards, downwards. It is absolutely phenomenal. And it's like the whole time it's like this little nymph creature living in the water. It has no idea of the phenomenal being that it is going to become until that gene is activated. And what's also not lost on me is the dragonfly has always been my favorite insect. I'm very, very drawn to dragonflies. And now I find that it is this gene key that is in my profile. It is one of my human design gates, is to bring in almost this new world, this new earth, this new consciousness. And so I'm really just called to share this, because I believe a lot of these energies in 2025, a lot of us are still feeling really, really pressurized. But I almost feel like if we are coming out of the water now and we're about to break out of that nymph phase and become these other beings that we have no idea that we are, I just want to remind you that everything that feels like you're under pressure and like there's so much trying to come up and so many things going on, that this is just part of the metamorphosis from this sort of nymph into this really advanced creature. And we're really going from sort of these, I guess, unaware of who we are and what we are. We've been sleeping as a species for who knows how long, not realizing that we are part of the divine, that we have this power, that we can manifest things, that we have this ability to create, that everything comes from our imagination. And so I wanted to just share that if anything feels like it's unbearable, really it's just the change. It's the change from what we thought we were into really what we've always been at our core. Because remember, even though the dragonfly is that nymph, those dragonfly genes are within that nymph, and they just lie dormant until that day that it climbs up the stalk. It doesn't become something other. It just allows that what it was always meant to be actually emerges. And so there's another part to this which people might find helpful. And what I've started to realize is also I've spoken about this before, but we very much intellectualize things. Everything is the mental realm, and we've tried to do healing in the mind and, all these kinds of things. And what I've started to realize is that a lot of stuff is actually coming up through the body. And so just in the same way that we are here to embody these higher frequencies, and we've still got to be human, and we're not here to have these very spiritual experiences that are a little bit out there where we're out of the body, because then we might as well just be out there and be pure energy. But also a lot of the stuff that is coming up for us is actually coming through the body. And I feel like some of that is also the ego is sometimes resistant to that coming up, because the ego is also trying to protect us. Remember, that's been the ego's job the whole time. It's not our enemy. It has been trying to protect us. But after speaking to a friend today, I thought this was an important message to share. And it's almost like as the stuff is coming up, there's been a part where we've kind of been able to go, okay, that's a negative thought. I can replace it with a positive thought. I'm becoming more aware of these thoughts in my mind that maybe aren't mine, or they're from things in my childhood or my past or whatever, these programs, these loops that are running, that are really not the real me. And a lot of them are lies, and a lot of them aren't even mine, because they've come from other people saying to us, them projecting their fears and their sort of what they see as their failings onto us. And especially if that's done in childhood, we think that that's then us. But what I've started to realize is there's something happening in the body as well. And it was phenomenal, because it ties to this dragonfly thing, is that it's in the body. And so when we're just trying to get the mind out of a loop and whatever, what sometimes I feel is happening, and this might not be relevant for you, but you'll know if it is our nervous systems also at the moment, like our bodies, our nervous systems, our cells, our DNA, everything's kind of been rewired and upgraded and maybe dismantled a bit and re-put together, or whatever you want to call it at the moment as well. But what I realized is that part of what is setting off my brain going into this overdrive where it wants to just protect and do all these things is that my body is reacting to some of the density that it is letting go of, and that is almost setting my nervous system on high alert, because it's like, what is going on here? So it's almost like you can feel a little bit of anxiety in the body, or you might even be getting the heart palpitations, or you're just feeling general anxiety, or you don't feel like yourself, or you feel like everything's crumbling around you and you're having a day where you go, why am I here? And I don't even know if I want to be in this relationship anymore, and who are my friends and what's happened to me, and all of these things that we're all going through. And so what's been really helpful for me is to understand that if I can just sit with myself and just feel my body on the planet, put my hands on my heart, just breathe, and just tell my body that I am safe. I am safe. I am okay. Right now in this moment, I am okay. Because it doesn't matter if in 5 minutes' time everything's coming off the rails. But at this moment when I am feeling that I am safe, at that moment I'm still breathing, I'm still alive, I'm still okay, I'm all good. And I've realized that in sort of calming my body down and my nervous system down, sometimes it's through tapping, sometimes I'll just go outside and I'll be in nature, sometimes I'll just breathe, sometimes I'll just find something around me that gives me joy, or I'll find a happy memory, anything. Or I even just go and be with my cats. I'll just go and sit with my cats. Sometimes I'll even just put on music and I'll just start dancing. I'll find a favorite song of mine. And it isn't to bypass it, but it's just to, if I'm struggling and it feels like the brain is getting in the way and the body is also like having a moment, it's just really to calm the nervous system down. And what I've realized, if I can calm the body down, the ego stops going into that, oh my God, I've got to fix everything and I need to protect, and because that's often when all the negative thoughts and all the programs start running again. So I wanted to just share that, because if you can find some way of just coming back into your body, breathing and letting your body know at this very moment in time that it is safe, that often short circuits all the chaos going on in the mind. Because I've worked out that it's not just always the brain, it's actually the brain's responding to the body starting to get agitated. And we all know that our nervous systems are fried, basically, the way we've, a lot of us, well, most of us have been living in survival. We've just been surviving, and now we're moving into this era of thriving. And so it's a really beautiful time. These energies that are coming in are really, really hectic. Some days I just can't get out of bed for hours. They really are quite powerful and potent, and maybe if you're not feeling them, that's also great. But I think maybe I feel them some days a lot is because I've got a lot that's moving through me and a lot that is trying to come out, because I'm ready for it. And that was the other thing that I just wanted to mention, is that everybody's on their own path and on their own timeline. Yes, we have a collective timeline, but everybody's on their own path and their own timeline. And never feel like you're behind. I know a lot of people are going, yeah, you've got to dump all this before 2026. Well, I go, this is a journey. Yeah, maybe there's a lot to dump, but it doesn't mean to say that you have to have it all dumped before 2026, and then you've got to feel like, oh my God, if I don't do this, like, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to be on the right timeline or whatever? I think we need to start getting out of that and really tuning into what's important for us, each individual being. So what works for you won't work for me. What works for me won't work for somebody else. Maybe everything that I'm saying here does not resonate with certain people that are watching it, and other people it's lighting up and they're going, oh my word. That's exactly how it's meant to be. But at this given moment, all of us are exactly where we need to be. So don't let anybody convince you that you're running out of time and you've got to do all this stuff before 2026. I think that's horseshit. So know that your soul is guiding you. And as long as you are tuning into your heart space and you are allowing your intuition and your soul to guide you, even though some of those decisions that you might be needing to make are difficult, but you kind of know you have to do them, you are going to be just fine. And we're also all here to help one another. And so I'm going to just, I'll probably be sharing a bit more about these kinds of things as I go. But I just thought this was a really important message. Everybody out there is essentially the dragonfly. The problem is that we look at ourselves and we just see the nymph, and we don't know what is hiding and what has always been in here. That's everything that we are. These dragonflies are phenomenal. They are absolutely phenomenal. They're one of the most amazing insects that we have on this planet. And that's the other thing I find fascinating about them, is supposedly they were around before dinosaurs. And you know what I think about dinosaurs. I think they were dragons, but we'll call them dinosaurs. They have been around for so long. And we've also been around for so long. So this is a very ancient creature. Yes, they might have been bigger. In some of the fossils, they were quite a lot bigger than what we see them as now. But I just go, wow, there's so much there. There is so much in this analogy and in, these supposed dragonfly years, these next 2 years that we're going to be in, where we're going to be seeing quite rapid transformation. And so I just wanted to remind everybody out there that is watching this, that you have this phenomenal, ancient, awesome energy within you that is you, and that's just been lying dormant up until now. It's essentially been asleep, and now it's awakening. And we're not behind. We're not anything like that. We're exactly where we're meant to be. Because remember, again, there is no time. There is no time. There is just the present. The past exists in your mind, and the future only exists in your mind. The only place where we are is right now. And that's why I say, so in that moment, if you're experiencing that anxiety or whatever it is that's coming up for you, or if it is a barrage of negative thoughts and that kind of thing, if you can find some way to tune into the deepest part of you in that moment That's all that's important. You don't need to worry about what's happening 2 or 3 or 4 minutes. It's not important. What's important is in this moment. That's where you have your power. And it's why it's the only place you have any power. Because everything else is just it's a memory or like a projection, and it only exists here. The only place we exist as the energy that we are is in the present moment. And so I hope this message is helpful. I will be back to share a little bit more as I go. And if anybody is looking for any answers out there, I encourage you to just follow the breadcrumbs your soul is leaving you. If you want to all of a sudden dive into your astrology, if you want to get a soul plan reading, if you want to do your human design, if you want to, whatever it is, if you find a channel that really speaks to you or whatever, just start following those breadcrumbs. Start following your intuition. Start following the things that are lighting you up and the things that feel like they are pulling you towards them. Even if up here you don't understand why. You don't need to understand it. You just need to feel it, and you need to start being more of that. There's less doing and less thinking at the moment. There's more, how does this feel for me? Does this feel good? I notice myself using that word feel a lot more. I'm using less I think, and I go, I feel. I'm definitely more in the body, just more like in the body. And it's a very nice place to be, because it feels like you are supported and you are held. And we are held. We are held by our beautiful Mother Gaia. And of course, we are held by the universe. So, with all that being said, wherever you are, I hope that these energies are not too intense for you, but remember, if they are, it's because you're ready for them, and it's because you can absolutely handle them. So just hang in there, look for things that bring you joy, and know that these moments will pass. And that's the other thing, is that, these things are fleeting. And so we always want to get out of the difficult moments, and then we always want to sort of stay where sort of the happier moments are. But even when we're in the happier moments, I feel like we don't fully allow ourselves to immerse ourselves in them. But remember that the gold and the best parts of you lie in those difficult times, in the shadows. That's where the gold is. That's where just all the parts of you, as we've moved through these times, have been suppressed and locked away. Maybe it wasn't safe for those parts to come out at that time, but it now is. And you have nothing to fear from your shadow and from the things that maybe feel a little bit dark and disturbing. They are all parts of you. And I still think there's a lot of fear. Well, there is still a lot of fear on this planet, but I feel like there is a lot of fear in amongst the spiritual community and the awakened community as well. And I think that when we can truly look at our shadows and know ourselves, we do discover that there really is nothing to fear except fear itself. So wherever you are, know that this shall pass. You're doing it. You're exactly where you're meant to be. You're strong enough for whatever is coming at you. Otherwise, it wouldn't be coming at you. Trust in yourself. Trust that your inner self, all those dormant genes and whatever, trust that dragonfly, it just knows exactly what it needs to do. You don't need to do anything or think anything, or just allow it. Just allow it to unfold. Allow it to unfold. And try to have a little bit of fun along the way, because I know it's hard, but wherever you can find little moments of joy, take them and grab them with everything that you've got. Anyway, wherever you are, wishing you a magical day, and I will be back soon.